Family Portrait 1942. At no time in the history of Britain and America have the two nations been so firmly linked. No marriage of convenience this, but the destined joining together of English-speaking peoples separated only by geography. When the time came for Mr. Churchill's departure from America, close secrecy guarded his movements. The Prime Minister quietly boarded a giant flying boat and took off for Bermuda. After breakfast aboard the 44-ton Berwick, he walked onto the control deck, smoking his morning cigar for a chat with the pilots and a sight of the Atlantic 8,000 feet below. The Atlantic in which U-boats are prowling in anticipation of his return. The man with a cigar is no novice when it comes to piloting a machine. After taking over the controls during the 4-hour trip to Bermuda, he remarked casually that the aircraft was very different from a plane he had flown in 1913. Enjoying yourself, sir? Steadily, the British Airways American-built Boeing wings her way. While his co-travelers play cards, Mr. Churchill, still at the controls, listens on headphones while messages are exchanged between Captain Kelly Rogers and the escorting American aircraft. Bermuda below. The 4-engine seaplane circles the island before gliding into her anchorage. In the aircraft, as she comes to rest, Mr. Churchill and his party prepare to come ashore. With him are Lord Beaverbrook, Sir Dudley Pound, Sir Charles Portal, and Sir Charles Wilson. Lord Knollys, Governor of Bermuda, is there to meet them and escort the distinguished travelers into Hamilton. The short journey to Government House was made in an RAF launch. The first leg of the journey home has been made as comfortably as any routine flight in peacetime, as was the remaining flight to Plymouth. As the special train drew in at Paddington Station, we saw a big crowd of people waiting to express their relief at the safe return of the Prime Minister and his advisers. Somewhere in that happy crowd, you'll catch a glimpse of Mrs. Churchill, who had hurried away from the Aid to Russia football match at Wembley to welcome her husband. A wonderful, full-throated welcome at the conclusion of a journey which every true Briton will recognize as one of those chapters in world history from which will emerge the future of civilization. This has been no mere diplomatic parley between statesmen. In frank and realistic conversations, Mr. Churchill and Mr. Roosevelt had laid plans for the combined Allied conduct of the war. Once again, the voices of armchair strategists are loud, advising this and demanding that. In the Far East, we see the result of futile chatter. Our Premier has been burdened with the failures and blunders of others. But he, who is the very embodiment of action, will, with his American counterpart, courageously tackle the task, as he did the Battle of Britain.